Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge and respect the Pambalong clan of the Awabakal people that are the traditional owners, custodians of the land in which the campus of the University of Newcastle is situated. So we're going to just quickly share our experiences. So we started off last year, if we cast our mind back to January 2020, the biggest danger that we faced was a catastrophic fire season. And I guess, unfortunately, for those of you still in Western Australia, you're still facing that. But we were all asked to have a fire plan ready. In retrospect, we already had a fire plan to deal with the pandemic without even knowing it. Many library teams have been using Zoom since 2018. So it wasn't too much of a leap for us to use Zoom in our daily routine. We tinkered with Microsoft Teams in late 2019, and this became our main communication tool, both for individual teams and the wider library community. Library Live sessions using Blackboard Collaborate for online librarian sessions had been used since 2017. And the librarian team had set up challenges using programs and tools like Canva, H5P, Adobe Spark to create digital learning objects. And then in December 2019, we'd implemented a chat shadowing team of librarians and library assistants in order to transfer our chat services. This all came to be very useful because the libraries at UON never closed during 2020, except for 2 weeks over Easter, but we were still able to continue our online chat and librarian support. I chose to work on campus, and it was great to be able to overhear meetings of teams via Zoom as they shared their home offices with everybody. There was a lot of laughter and chatter, and of course the phrase of the year last year was, "You're on mute." Yes, you're still on mute. Our library assistants used Zoom to staff our virtual concierge in the library to enable us to provide a human touch during the time of extreme social distancing and to also keep ourselves safe. Microsoft Teams became our main communication tool. We called our Teams site Keeping Us Connected, and we've continued to use that, and it is now known as just Library Team. It was an essential tool and is still a hub of information and sharing for the whole library. One benefit is that we also had the opportunity to connect with fellow workmates, colleagues and peers wherever they were located using all these tools. We held regular half-hour Zoom sessions on Thursdays as well, designed to share any digital skills or points of interest with library staff. We could also attend many online conferences like this one and webinars, providing opportunities for professional development in a way that wasn't previously available. And to most of us, the surprise was the large vendors opened up ways of sharing digital resources in a way that we weren't used to. We'd also set up 5 online sessions called Experts Talks that involved other library and associated professionals who were able to share their knowledge, expertise and passion, and these became real points of interest during that whole period when we were off campus. The phrase that was shared in one of those webinars was the idea that we were witnessing a period of accelerated transformation. And if that person is watching now, thank you for that, because it seemed to capture the ways that we were all looking at how we could support our clients and each other during the pandemic. Nicole.
The restructure for many of us is actually known as the Library Change Project. It was something we all knew was coming for quite a while. The initial phase commenced in May of 2020 and the implementation and transition commenced in November. Why did we need to change? Firstly, our library vision and strategy was updated for the next 5 years. This document will guide us to shape our services and position us to be more agile. Our key themes are what is represented on the screen. Secondly, we needed to respond to the university priorities, those such as the Looking Ahead strategic plan had just been launched. We also needed to have a stronger focus on service enhancement, business efficiency, quality assurance, capability and development. Prior to the launch of our library strategy, we had been reimagining our learning environments, service models, and using a variety of tools to do that, as Jenny has previously mentioned. The benefit of this change process means that our structure is now aligned to this strategy and the key areas shown there. We have increased job security. We have consistent position titles and descriptions. We have reduced the complexity and duplication whilst increasing our flexibility. It also supports our vision, which is our students and staff will succeed in their chosen futures and make a lifelong connection to learning. Our new structure has 5 key areas, function areas, and those are the library business services, student engagement and partnerships, the university galleries, collections, discovery and digital experience, and where our roles sit is in the academic engagement and client services function area.
Thanks, Nicole. So the academic engagement team looks a little bit like this. Our core business is the core business of the library, research and teaching. The research liaison librarians, which is us, and our teaching liaison librarians are supported by 2 middle managers and 1 senior manager. UON is a research-focused university, and this structure represents that with our 4 positions. While we come from varying backgrounds, we have all worked in an array of positions in the library's previous structure for many years. We each provide support for 5 schools across the university. Unlike previous structures, our schools do not all come from the same colleges. This division of schools allows us to stay agile and avoid silos within the university and the library. Our aim is simple: to provide advice and support to the UON research community. While a very short and sweet aim, we are learning that there are so many ways we need to advise and support our researchers, from EndNote travelling libraries and systematic reviews to open access and bibliometric data.
So I was to talk about the onboarding for the new roles, which took place via an online course, which was developed by team members that were in a previous version of the role, but were in different roles now within the academic engagement team. So the course was hosted on LinkedIn Learning. It was a mixture of web pages, documents and reports to read, and online material to watch, absorb and discuss. So the onboarding course took place over the first 5 weeks after our start date, and each week focused on a different topic. They included the research landscape, which provided an understanding of our research environment, including the broader and international context, introduction to library research support, which outlined the research lifecycle and provided understanding of the type of support that we were to provide in our new roles. Systematic and scoping reviews, which was an introduction to developing search strategies, screening records and publishing. Bibliographic management, which included advice on using EndNote's advanced features and how to specifically support thesis writing. And the last one was open scholarship, which outlined benefits and issues relating to open access. So during the onboarding period, we had weekly meetings with our managers and the research and scholarly communication advisor to discuss the previous week's content. We discussed any issues that we had or thoughts, and we talked about how we could provide the skills learned to postgrad students and researchers. So with all the change taking place, what has stood out to me personally and has really helped me is to have people in the previous roles with us in the same team. So they've been nearby and have been able to provide us with much needed and much appreciated support. What has also helped immensely is how generous that they've been with their time, advice and encouragement. Sally, what were your thoughts?
So for me, I've always been learning and developing my skills in the library world as an early career librarian. And this role has only heightened this, accelerated learning. While at times it feels like I'm relearning to have to walk, I'm really enjoying this challenge as hard as it can be sometimes. Nicole?
For me, research support was an area that I'd always been interested in. I'm now learning the new world of research, systematic reviews, bibliometrics, and so much more. And while I've certainly had my what does that mean moment, and probably many of them, I'm very glad that I've made this transition. I'm looking forward to the future with our academic engagement team. And like Jess, I've really appreciated the support and guidance we've had from our peers during this process, but also the support that we've all given each other over the last few months as we navigate our way through our new roles. And Jenny.
So for me, 2020 meant that there was a certain amount of anxiety around interviews, but after a lot of practice, I was successful. My new role is a challenge. Having previously supported undergrads as a teaching librarian, this step up into the research support role requires a fair bit of extra training, which I'm more than happy to do. But we've got the support and expert advice from our managers and the previous senior research librarians. What came out of 2020 clearly for me is that we've achieved a great deal, and I'm talking about the collective we. We've achieved a great deal more than we initially thought or imagined. Our clients, our students, our university community appreciate the support that we provide, and it is obvious that anything is possible. 2020 was an interesting and challenging year for each of us. And as a further example of us throwing ourselves in the deep end, we would like to thank you for joining us in our very first conference presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much to your team. I think you guys have won the unofficial Zoom Background Awards, so that might need to be a new category going forward. A couple of questions I'm going to squeeze in before our last presentation of the day. The first one is about the scope of responsibility. So it says sometimes you have to say no when asked to take on new roles. Is there anything you've had to decide was out of scope, or perhaps the level of support that can be feasibly provided?
Thank you. That's a really good question. So we are still working that all out. Currently in our structure that you saw on the slides, we're actually down a couple of positions. So we are having to take on extra work at this point while we're still learning our new roles. For me personally, saying no to things is really hard. So that is actually in my professional development this year. And I'm getting a few nods in the room, so it's not just me. So yeah, what was the rest of that question? Sorry.
That was mainly it in terms of
Yeah.
you had to say no, or perhaps the level of support you had to offer had to be scaled down.
Yeah, so there's some of our support for our teaching for undergrads is having to be scaled down because we're missing those positions at the moment, but we are also stepping in to cover some of that where possible. Yeah,
great. And this question here, did your previous roles involve much research support? Are these new roles entirely new for you, or more of an extension of your knowledge?
3 of us in the room that came from a learning and teaching role, which was supporting our undergraduates and providing support in classrooms or online in that basic information literacy school. But Jess did come to the team with research support background in supporting academics to use our digital repository and uploading material into that. So we've all had a bit of a dabble in, I suppose to say, in that research support, but for all of us, it is this level of support is probably a new area for most of us.